Hi, welcome back to Evermore YouTube channel. It's Chris back with the Aftermath. That's right, the show that we do when the dust settles from the post-match reaction, which is always very passionate, very instant. And we talk about the game that's just gone by. And wow, what a game it was. In my opinion, the best Premier League game this season. Newcastle United 3, Liverpool 3 at St James's Park. And if it wasn't for the referee's hasty decision to blow his whistle, we could be sitting there looking at a 4-3 in favour of Newcastle for once in those unbelievable Premier League games with Liverpool over the years. So just looking at the game now in a clear light today about a few things. Start with Newcastle United's performance, absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. You know, everyone to a man, graft, determination, passion, press. It was all back. Everything that we love about this Eddie Howe Newcastle United side was there. There was no question of the manager after this game tonight. There was no question of the players. But the question still remains, can these lads do it against teams like Brentford and Leicester and Fulham and Bournemouth and Everton? And on the evidence, the answer to that is no this season. And before that as well, probably going back to January. And that is probably a cynical view to take after such a brilliant result, but it's a practical one and it's a sensible one, because this is where Newcastle United find themselves right now. If Newcastle United want to be pushing for the top 6, the top 4 or beyond that, they have to have consistency in their performances. Now, had we played 50% of the capacity that we played last night against Palace and against West Ham, we'd have been 6 points in the bag going into that game last night, second or third. Would it have changed Liverpool's opinion and kind of, you know, a stance to that game? It might have done, because I think Liverpool were too cocky going into that game. The commentator even said it. Liverpool have come in here, they just look too confident. They've been rattled by Newcastle, and I think there was a huge element of that. I think Arne Slot has done a great job with Liverpool this season, way better than I thought he was going to do. But they had like Trent on the bench and players like that as well, and Szoboszlai, who did really well against City. But they had a great team out there, but they just weren't up for it. From minute one, Newcastle were in their faces, and that was perpetuated by the performances of Sandro Tonali, Bruno Guimaraes and Joe Linton as well in that midfield three. That was the game that we wanted from them. That was what we saw against Aston Villa. That's what we saw against Liverpool last season as well, and a bit of Paris Saint-Germain. You know, we haven't seen that consistently, obviously because of Tonali's ban, but Bruno's been off it a little bit. Joe Linton's been moved around positionally wise. But when them three put in a performance like that, they are pound for pound, man for man. That could be the best midfield in the Premier League, or right up there with the best midfields in the Premier League. They've got everything. They've got strength, they've got pace, they've got guile, they've got skill, they've got vision. And they're nasty little bastards as well. Some of the tackles that were going in, you know, from Tonali. I loved it when he smashed into Gravenberch after he stuck one in on Bruno. But Bruno was excellent again last night, nicking the ball off people, finding those little pockets of space, those little passes through balls round the defenders like he did for Isak. And in the cold, hard light of day as well, that is now a penalty in my opinion. I didn't think it when I first looked at it, but when I looked at it again, I was watching Match of the Day, and for me, Kwanzaa does get the ball, but after he's got Isak shifts his weight to the right, and that's a penalty because he plays the man first and the ball second. That should have been a penalty. The other big decision I think that should have went in our favour was Virgil van Dijk. Now, I've looked at that again, and I think that's a situation where a referee has bottled it, given the reputation and the name of the player that was involved in the incident. There was absolutely no need for Virgil van Dijk to run in, you know, 5 or 6 seconds after Gordon has picked himself up and smash him in the face. It should have been a yellow card straight away. Didn't have to be a red. Red would have been harsh, but a yellow card was warranted there. And had Virgil van Dijk been booked that early on, Isak would have been running at him non-stop, and he could have got a red card shortly after that. Even in the first half, he could have got a red card, and then that changed the whole narrative of the game there. So the referee's bottled it there. The referee had a better game, I thought, than a lot of Premier League referees. He wasn't scared to tell Liverpool to fuck off. He wasn't scared to brandish yellow cards. He wasn't scared to give decisions to Newcastle. But the two big ones for me, well, three big ones, is the Virgil van Dijk incident. He should have been booked for that 100%, because that was violent conduct in a way, but at a lesser extent. He didn't need to do that. Didn't need to run into Gordon like that. It was totally unnecessary. It was way after the event of the challenge and the chance, and Van Dijk should have got a yellow card for that. For me, the penalty, the referee has to go back and look at the penalty. He has to stop the game and look at the screen, and I think if he looks at that replay 2 or 3 times, he sees Kwanzaa plays Isak and not the ball first, and that's a penalty in Newcastle. Again, that changes the narrative of the game. But the big one is right at the end of the game. So there was 2 VAR checks in injury time, and Andy Madley played 20 seconds of extra time. We're on the break, and he blows the whistle. We're on the edge of the box. If he lets that go, if he doesn't blow that whistle and lets that attack finish, I think we win that game 4-3. And this is a total different aftermath. It's a different post-match that we do. Liverpool have lost a game in the title race. City are probably raging watching that replay, thinking, what the fuck was he doing? Why did he blow the whistle? Newcastle were in, and the way they were playing, that was a goal. Yeah, so for me, that's a huge mistake by the referee, and it spoiled a relatively decent game that he had. Now I'm looking at these things, and now the dust has settled after the post-match reaction, which is always instant. I feel the referee let us down there. But going back to Newcastle United, Eddie Howe said in his post-match conference, a brilliant question by the interviewer who was not attached to any of the mainstream shithouse channels. He said, that's the bar you've set, isn't it? Surely that's the bar you've set. And Eddie said, that's how good we can be. And that's what I want to take from this aftermath video, from this game. I think that's how good Newcastle can be when they're at it. Now, you're never going to get that performance week in, week out. You're not. You'd love it, but you're not. You're going to have dips and, and highs and lows. But if Newcastle United can even play at 50% of the capacity that they played last night against a team that beat City and Real Madrid in the last week, a team that's flying high at the top of the Premier League, out of everybody, a team that's probably doing what you'd expect them to do in that side and those players in the shape of Liverpool. If Newcastle can put in 50% of the quality and the graft and the effort they showed last night against Brentford's and Leicester's and Everton's and Bournemouth's and Fulham's, we wouldn't be in the position that we were in. We wouldn't be asking questions whether the manager still has what it takes to get this team into Europe. We wouldn't be asking questions about the players' mentality. They have to show up and do this against the rest. They do it against the best, they've got to do it against the rest. There's no point in playing like that against Liverpool and City and Arsenal, Man United and Chelsea and all of that, and then not showing up against Bournemouth at the weekend. And that's where we are as Newcastle fans. Some people might jump in the comments and say, oh, you're being negative, stop being negative, we were class last night, the lads are class, Eddie's mags are back. Eddie's mags will be back when they're putting performances against the Leicesters and the Bournemouths, because that's what got us to the top four when we got there. We put it in against the other teams as well as the big teams. Newcastle will always get it up for those games, but they need to get it up for the other games as well. They have to be able to play to that level against those teams, because if they even play 50-70% of the capacity, they beat those teams because they've got better players, man for man. If Isak's up for it, we win the games. If Gordon's up for it, we win the games. If Bruno's on the ball, we win the games. If Sandro stays in the team and does what he does last night, we win those games. Defensively, yes, there was a couple of little blips. I did feel a bit sorry for Lewis Hall. I think his age and his youthful naivety was on show there a little bit, but it was against one of the very best that's ever played in the Premier League in the shape of Mo Salah, who took his goals superbly well. I do not know what Liverpool are doing, fucking around with his contract. Oh my days, Liverpool fans, you must be screaming. That lad's got another 2 seasons, 3 seasons left in him at the highest level. There ain't no doubt about that, in my opinion. What a footballer. Maybe he'll go to Saudi and PIF will loan it to us for 6 months, possibly, a bit like the Lampard City scenario a few years back. But a brilliant game for Newcastle, a brilliant performance, but consistency has to become our new identity. There's no point in showing up for that big game and then bringing us right back down to earth against Brentford at the weekend. But that's my thought on it, guys. That's the aftermath. Keep it evermore. Smash like and subscribe. We're so close to 9k now. We might even be there by the time this video is out. But thank you very much for all the support. We'll be back with some more Newcastle United content this week, and let's look forward to a good performance against Brentford and keep this momentum going. Have a belter, everyone. See you later.